It all starts with Suigin Riku, a high school student and intense gamer, who attends the prestigious Shinryou Private Academy, a school for the elite and the children of wealthy families. However, Suigin is very poor and has to work many part-time jobs to afford his tuition. But one day, he finds out that he is the grandson of a billionaire. In the middle of the night at Shinryou Academy, the moon suddenly turns red, illuminated by beams of light emerging from the ground. Simultaneously, a pyramid-shaped building starts rising from the ground. Not only does this structure begin to surface, but also strange monsters with bright red eyes slowly make their way towards the pyramid. They seem to repetitively announce that the buried treasure tomb has entered stage 0. The undead beings organize themselves to attack the pyramid in front of them and seize the treasures within. At the top of the pyramid, there is a cat named Wanchoi and a young boy, Suigin Riku, observing the crowd of creatures from there. Upon being noticed by the creatures, they rush at full speed to begin attacking and try to surround him. We all thought the young boy was cornered, but he runs straight towards the creatures, unleashing his power in the form of colorful spheres of light that surround him. These beings are defeated one by one as he speeds through them. Just when it seems he is trapped among these creatures, a bright light appears to envelop him, sending these enemies flying through the air. The horde of specters doesn't give up and launches an attack with arrows of fire. Our protagonist responds by attacking with his sword in all directions alongside his fighting companion Wanchoi. In a flashback, Suigin recalls the incident from a year ago in the summer. At that time, he was on duty at the Shinryou Academy pool when he drowned while trying to save Wanchoi, who was thrown in by a young troublemaker. When our protagonist manages to awaken, he is greeted by the small cat that was happy to see its owner recover. Just a few meters away, Rancho was waiting. Suigin thought he had been saved by Rancho, but it turns out he was rescued by Riku Yuki, the daughter of the president of the video game company God Grave. Apparently, our protagonist had not heard of her before, although a brief sequence while he was at the bottom of the pool comes to mind, causing him to scream like crazy. Returning to the battle, Suigin continues to attack the horde surrounding him, which seems to be uniting and forming various gigantic monsters. Feeling cornered and observing his significant disadvantage, he unleashes his power called Thousand Graves. Graves and tombstones with crosses emerge from the ground. The monsters become immobilized upon the crosses that appeared, although there are still thousands of specters left to defeat. However, confidently, he asserts that he will not lose because he needs to protect this world. He mentions that someday they will meet again. In a flashback, Riku Rei recalls her childhood waking up under a large tree with reddish-brown leaves. Upon awakening, she saw the figure of a little boy watching her with a concerned expression. That little boy was Suigin, our protagonist. At night, a couple of students find themselves seated in the cemetery near the academy, enjoying the fireflies around them. Just as the lovebirds are about to share a kiss, a large figure with 4 eyes emerges on the scene, prompting them to immediately sprint away from the cemetery area. Suigin, who happens to be fulfilling his duties as a security guard there, promptly cleans up and picks up the litter left behind by the students before they dashed away. Afterward, he heads to his computer to begin playing Dungeon Century. It appears to be a legend in this video game alongside his character named Gwyn, who is fighting and successfully defeats the ultimate dragon, battling monsters and also saving another character named Rei who was in distress, being pursued by a kickbacker. Just before being able to converse with Rei, Suigin's computer suddenly shuts off. He immediately tries to fix the electrical cable that draws power from the lamppost. At the same time, one of the windows in front of him suddenly opens, revealing one of the occupants of the room. It turns out to be the window directly facing the girls' dormitory at the academy, where they were just talking about Gwyn, the strong boss who effortlessly defeated the monster. Without hesitation, they throw a pillow at Suigin, accusing him of spying. The next morning, while our protagonist was tasked with cleaning the windows of the high school building, he overheard 2 students playing and talking about the famous game. It turns out that the father of this girl named Rei was the developer of the game. She tells her friend Maki that she feels like the game is her true place, not the real world. Suigin watches the girls carefully, and suddenly, Rancho appears on the scene. Laughing, he warns her to be careful if he falls in love with Rei, since she is the most wanted by the boys at the academy. At that moment, he remembers the conversation they had the day he almost drowned in the pool, and just as he is about to ask if it was her he had mentioned before, he is left talking to himself as Ron disappears. In the afternoon, our protagonist, back in his room, resumes playing the game, and suddenly he receives a notification from Ray, asking to be friends in the game. Both players spend months playing and enjoying this wonderful game. Then one day, Ray suggests meeting in the real world with Gwyn, who in reality works part-time, and his social status is inferior to hers. So, he intends only to be able to be with Ray in the game world forever. As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and one night, when everything was going well, the boy receives a notification that the service for the game, Dungeon Century, will end soon. The next day, our young man doesn't seem to be doing well. He walks as if he were drunk. While he feels that his world has come to an end, he collapses onto some bushes. It may seem quite exaggerated to us, but for him, his time with his waifu has come to an end. On the other hand, Ray is at her father's residence, where he hands her a box wrapped in purple fabric and tells her to keep it. He also warns her to follow the instructions if something happens. Although Ray is curious about it, her father reassures her that it's just a precaution. He then goes on to explain that the game Dungeon Century has completed its prototype stage, and he will launch a new game that will change the world and surpass even more reality than she could imagine. Suigin at the academy appears depressed, lying on the fountain. His behavior attracts strange looks from the surrounding students. Rancho then suggests to him that even if the game is cancelled, he should try to meet Ray in real life. However, not convinced that it's a good idea, Suigin leaves the place. That night in the dormitory, Ray returns to the Dungeon Century game, despite her roommate reprimanding her for staying awake until late hours. Ray, the character she uses, is in a tavern and overhears some characters complaining about the game service ending, expressing disapproval. One of them spreads rumors about an item in the game world that could grant any wish. The item is known as the Evening Songflower. They believe that if they can find this object, they can wish for the game to continue, and they leave immediately. Ray, on the other hand, remains silent, wondering if Gwyn will log in to play. After finishing his work duties, Suigin rushes to the point where he logs in every day to play, intending to enter the game to begin saying goodbye to Ray. Upon meeting in the game, she mentions that there is still 1 week left to continue enjoying all their adventures together. While Suigin remains silent, she tells him about the object she heard about in the tavern, and expresses her desire to find it to make a wish. Gwyn then extends his hand and offers to accompany her on this adventure. On the other hand, the company Godgrave Tech Company is launching what they claim to be the best online game called Grave Buster, designed by Riku Yuki. The game involves players becoming tomb raiders and acquiring various treasures within each stage of a pyramid. Strength will increase along with financial prowess, so the more players pay, the more powerful they can become. As if that were not enough, players who register in the game will receive a special console called Seibei. Finally, the day arrives when the game is disabled. Just at midnight, there's a festival to commemorate the last day of the game. Ray, who is playing, only watches the festival from a distance and walks away sadly. In the real world, his father is watching the festival from his computer, bidding farewell to his creation. We can also see, under Yuki's attentive gaze, the flower mentioned earlier. Meanwhile, our protagonist is speeding on his bicycle to finish one last task and log in to meet Ray for their farewell at the bar, where she waits for him every day. He ends up falling into some bushes. Upon realizing that Gwyn hasn't shown up, Ray decides to venture alone in search of the object. It's at this point that the story takes an interesting turn. Meanwhile, at the company headquarters, the game developer awaits the final hours of service. In that moment, a mysterious woman bursts in, immobilizing the security guards. She enters the developer's office and points a weapon at him. Apparently, she's a company associate named Elu. Seeing that Yuki won't cooperate in revealing how to open the tombs, Elu ends up ruthlessly shooting him. Suigin, after the fall, recovers and rushes to reach him at top speed. Meanwhile, Ray is in the field searching for that powerful object capable of granting any wish. Suddenly, she is alerted as she sees all the game characters running scared, begging for their lives, while being destroyed by a villain known as Monster. Gwyn is finally able to log in and finds the place in ruins. He receives a message from the bar's bartender from Ray, and immediately runs towards the field, very worried because the outlook is not very good. When he reaches the girl, he finds her on the ground holding a flower in her hand. She thanks Suigin for saving her, although she regrets not being able to find the evening singing flower. Gwyn was very sad about this farewell, but what he did not imagine was that one of his tears would make the flower that Ray was carrying in his hands bloom, and bingo! It turned out to be that object that they had been waiting so long to find to fulfill their wish. In an unexpected twist, one of the game's demons traps Ray, destroying her without Gwyn being able to save her this time, right at midnight, and the game is officially down. In the morning, our protagonist walked with his partner Wanchoi while a very thick fog surrounded the academy. Next to a tree on the path was Ray, who seems to have discovered that Suigin was the character she had been playing with all this time. She expresses her gratitude to him for saving her so many times, although Suigin replies that he couldn't help her at the most important moment through tears. She then asks him if he will protect her next time in the new game. On the following day, at the Godgrave Tech Company building, the police are already working on the investigation into Yuki's murder. Upon hearing the news, Suigin quickly rushes to see Ray, and upon arriving, Maki informs him that his friend was no longer at the location. Company personnel had picked her up to complete the necessary paperwork for the funeral. At the wake, people were already gossiping about Mr. Yuki and the inheritance he had left for his daughter. One of the company representatives, deeply distressed by the situation, promises that he and the entire company will work diligently to find the culprit and ensure their imprisonment. He also pledges to do everything possible to make the game Gravebuster a great success. Suigin was watching the farewell stream of the game developer on his computer when suddenly the memory of an image flashed in his mind. In the image, he saw himself as a child walking hand in hand with Yuki. This left our protagonist feeling confused. The next day, Ray calls Suigin to meet her in one of the rooms that belonged to her father and hands him a box that her father had specifically instructed her to give to him. Upon opening it, he finds a seabay inside, created for his new game. Now he wonders why it was specifically given to him. While holding the console, it scans him for identification, and the system is initiated. Both of them are left bewildered by what has just occurred. To add to the unusual situation, Ray's confession further confuses everyone. She reveals that she is not Yuki's biological daughter. He had adopted her when she was a child, and she has no memories of her childhood. The conversation is abruptly interrupted, as one of the assistants informs Ray that she has a visitor waiting outside. While our protagonist waits in the room, he observes the device completing its startup process. Outside, some mysterious individuals are waiting to meet with Ray. Without introducing themselves, they watch her with malevolent glares. Meanwhile, the device has finally completed the preparation of the Gravebuster, and our protagonist is shocked to learn that he has a fortune of 10 billion yen. Additionally, a recording from Yuki begins to play, revealing that he is Suigin's grandfather. Yuki explains that he left this inheritance for them to live happily together with Ray. He also discloses that the girl's biological parents were murdered by their enemies and urges Suigin to protect her from them. Suddenly, he hears Ray scream, and from the window, he sees these individuals outside struggling with the girl in an attempt to kidnap her. Suigin rushes outside to try to save her. When Suigin bravely confronts these men, he is repelled by a kick that sends him falling backward, and he is trampled upon in front of all the students who only watch from a distance. Upon witnessing this, she pleads with them, offering to do anything they ask but begging them to stop beating the boy. Suigin promises to settle the apparent debt of 500 million owed to the elderly video game developer, and rushes to the room in search of the device to attempt the money transfer. However, it seems impossible to convert that currency into real currency. Unfortunately, that fortune seems to be of no use, as our boy can only watch helplessly as Ray is kidnapped by these wrongdoers. But if you thought this was the end, the boy wasn't going to let them take her away just like that. He pursues them at full speed on his bicycle, and just when he is about to reach out and touch Ray's hand, the vehicle suddenly brakes. Now the roles are reversed, as the kidnappers take on the role of pursuers and attempt to threaten him by almost running him over until he ends up falling off his bicycle. Suddenly, a badge begins to emit a bright light inside the car, and a young man with a peculiar appearance appears. He introduces himself as Silicon de Totem. Suigin, undeterred by the tremendous fall, chases after the car. Upon reaching it, they are surprised to find the car overturned with the two wrongdoers lying on the ground. This ninja-like figure, holding Ray in his arms, leaves a message from Temujin-sama, saying he awaits Suigin in Gravebuster, before disappearing out of thin air, carrying the girl with him. That same night, Suigin tries to turn on the seabay console, but it seems to be malfunctioning. Exhausted, he falls onto his bed with many doubts. One of those doubts is where they might have taken Rei. Suddenly, the device lights up, illuminating the entire bedroom, and a girl named Twin Star appears above him. She claims that he summoned her and addresses him as her master. Immediately, he is transported into the game Gravebuster at level 34, falling from the skies into a desert territory. In the same level but at a different, seemingly more peaceful point, new characters appear, plotting to rob the tomb. Meanwhile, the woman who previously called him Master transforms into two twin ball-shaped beings named Shin and Wei. Suddenly, a furious monster appears, accusing them of waking it up, and our boy can't help but be terrified by the situation. A long time ago, there existed a goddess of immense power who gave birth to this world and sacrificed herself to create many more. As she lost her divine strength, it culminated in an eternal sleep within her imperial tomb, leaving behind a transcendent power. Her name echoed as Bango, and her epic mythological tale of the world's creation has been recounted throughout the ages. Meanwhile, in Gravebuster, the level 34 monster remains furious with Suigin for having awakened it. This causes the tiny beings accompanying it to hide in the Seabay console. These charming creatures, known as Shin and Wei, are the game's guides. Despite the monster's irritation, our protagonist urges the Colossus to stop shouting. Upon noticing Suigin's bravery, the pyramid-shaped monster decides to test him to determine if he is worthy of becoming a tomb guardian. It invites Suigin to repel the enemies and protect the level. The monster, unleashing a roar full of fury, challenges Suigin to prove his worth. Seeing Suigin withdraw and ignore the proposal, the monster mentions Rei, warning him that if he does not pass this test, he won't be able to save her. Suddenly, a powerful blue light heads towards the monster, but they fail in the first attempt. It turns out that these three characters, who also belong to level 34, are trying to eliminate the supreme being of this level. Their names are EU, Phoebe, and the smallest one, Farron. The latter must now create a distraction until the powerful weapon is recharged. The supreme being of this level explains to Suigin that the recent attackers are known as the Tomb Raiders, and now he will have to take care of stopping them. The pyramid emits a green light near Suigin, who introduces itself as the embodiment of the desert with the name Shostia. It quickly rushes towards our protagonist, telling him that it has been waiting for him, and by giving him a kiss, it breaks the seal of his memories. And if this has left our protagonist dumbfounded, the figure of Yuki appears and explains that he is the information he stores when connecting to the game just before dying. Although he can't give a full explanation, as they begin to be attacked by Tomb Raiders. Phoebe reacts by launching an attack, turning her cards into centipedes and orders her new allies to attack while accompanying Farron. Meanwhile, our protagonist and the others enter a control room called Giant Guardian Yuki 34, designed for hidden protection. They arrive just in time, when little Farron fully charges her sword and points it at the pyramid, splitting it in two. Just when I thought they had destroyed the supreme being of this level, a huge sphinx-shaped robot emerges, ready for battle. The centipedes begin to launch their attacks against the Sphinx robot. The intensity of the attacks causes the robot to tremble slightly. Meanwhile, in the hideout, Suigin and the rest of the crew defend themselves against the assailants. In addition, the powerful weapon is fully charged, and they shoot directly at the Sphinx robot, causing one of its legs to detach and the robot to fall. Shostia panics in the face of the onslaught of attacks, but Suigin seems to take control of the situation. While desperately searching for an additional defensive weapon, Suigin finds one. He then orders Shostia to attack the enemy and points out the location of the assailant's positions so she can aim accurately. After identifying the location, Suigin advises Shostia to relax to ensure a precise shot, and finally, she opens fire. This attack takes his enemy by surprise, but he manages to deflect the shot using a shield created by Phoebe, directing it towards the direction where the Sphinx robot is. Then, they threaten to activate a card's power to make them pay for attacking. This makes Shostia behave as if hypnotized. Her hands seem to move on their own, and she holds the gun firmly, saying that she must shoot the clover. This apparently works as a distraction to cause the robot to lose Desert Eagle bullet ammo. The Tomb Raiders' plan goes perfectly, and with the help of Farron's gunfire, the robot's armor is destroyed, allowing the centipedes to infiltrate inside. Phoebe quickly calls Farron to warn him to take cover, as EU will unleash his powerful weapon with all his might. Meanwhile, Inside the control room, Suigin says goodbye to his grandfather. It seems that his stored data is disappearing, and he asks him to protect Bango's tomb, as this will help save the kidnapped Riku Rei. Yuki's last words were that Suigin is the last guardian, and then he disappears completely. Suigin begins to emit a radiant light, as if his powers have been elevated. Farin orders the centipedes to retreat from the area, and is surprised to see a clover light. In a matter of seconds, Suigin swiftly heads towards the enemies at full speed, and the girl can no longer catch up with him. Wei and Shin remove the blindfold from Shostya so she can fire her last bullet towards this card. The last guardian manages to redirect the attack towards Phoebe, who ends up defeated and out of the game. EU is shocked to lose his partner, and at the same time, to discover the existence of a guardian he thought extinct. He quickly heads towards his powerful weapon to attack Suigin, but his effort is in vain, as he ends up sharing the same fate as his partner. After this event, Shostya congratulates our guy and bids farewell, as her task in that level has concluded. Suddenly, behind the young man, a strange being appears and informs him that he is not the last guardian, launching an attack and concluding by asserting that she is the true last guardian. Suigin wakes up startled from his dream, panting. He lifts his shirt and observes how the wound caused by the gunshot slowly fades away. Suigin picks up the Seibei console, which is ringing. It turns out to be a call from someone named Temujin. The man tells Suigin that he is waiting for him in Gravebuster and hangs up. Immediately after, he sends a picture of Rei, showing her unconscious in her bed. In a distant part, on level 35 of the gold mine, there is a self-proclaimed group called the Gold Hunters, led by Wild. With great patience, they keenly observe, searching for a wealthy target to plunder. Suddenly, the loud sound of sirens startles them, indicating that someone is approaching the area. Indeed, the presence of 3 individuals is revealed, 2 boys and a girl. Meanwhile, at the Shinryou Academy, Suigin is preparing to face a being known as Precious. At that moment, Rancho appears, accompanied by his friend, who turns out to be a passionate fan of the game and seems to have profound knowledge about it. Apparently, Precious is a formidable character with immense wealth, controlling the game world by stealing from other participants. However, there is another formidable force battling at almost the same level, his arch-rival, Temujin. The latter seems to devour everything in his path, and it is important to note that he has kidnapped Rei. Returning to the game universe, the members of the Gold Hunters group devise a plan to deceive a group of individuals. They tell them that they have discovered a treasure, but the place is infested with monsters, and they fear being attacked. They manage to persuade these men, who are tempted to help them, and accompany them to the specified location. Upon arrival, the 3 young men fall into an ambush and are skillfully trapped inside a dome by the Gold Hunters. But wait, here comes the fun part. In the midst of the plan's success, Wild, the leader of the group, makes his triumphant entrance. However, the entrance turns out to be more comical than triumphant, leaving everyone present in a mix of laughter and astonishment. In the real world, Suigin visits the girls' dormitory, where Rei's roommate Maki expresses deep concern for her friend. While looking at a drawing of the character Gwyn, Suigin promises to bring her back safe and sound, though he can't help but worry about her. On the other side, in Gravebuster, the Gold Hunters celebrate their success at the Solo Arbor Bar after scoring $1 million by robbing some newbie players loaded with cash. Amidst the lively conversation, Farron notices someone who seems frightened, piquing the group's curiosity. EU decides to take the initiative and approaches the concerned individual. Meanwhile, in Temujin's fortress, Retret hands over a Seibei to the villain, who appears to be scheming against Precious. Surprisingly, this plan involves Rei, despite the opposition from his subordinates. At the bar, the Gold Hunters gang is shocked to discover that the person at that table is a crucial Precious general. He explains that he was assaulted by a woman who emptied his pockets and ended up being kicked out of the game. Soon, this team returns to their work and manages to catch 3 people and steal their money. However, before continuing, Wild begins giving a boring lecture to those present on how to be cautious in Grave Bust, and then proceeds to loot. Just when they were collecting a large amount of money, the powerful collector appears firing her gun, and the group of Gold Hunters begins to defend themselves. However, they end up falling into the trap set by this woman, who leaves them trapped in a red dome. Outside of him, only the leader of the group is free. The woman lands right in front of Wild and points her gun at him. He, very scared, falls backwards and offers to give him the buster items of his group mates. As the woman slowly advances towards him, he manages to distract her and stabs her in the chest with his sword. Wild smiles as he realizes that he has succeeded, but his expression quickly changes when he realizes that Collector knows that the sword is used to absorb money from his victims. What the leader of the gold hunters did not expect was that this lady had so much accumulated wealth, much less that she was a billionaire player. She mentions that she doesn't mind giving him her wealth as long as he can handle it, and then he gets crushed by this giant chunk of gold bars. In the academy, Suigin is in front of his Seibei console, while his assistant Twinstar asks if he's ready to embark on the next adventure. Back with the Gold Hunters group, Collector bids farewell, stating that his sole purpose is to hunt Tomb Raiders, and Wild will be no exception. He is automatically excluded from this thrilling game. However, Collector doesn't have a peaceful future ahead, as so much exposure has attracted the attention of new enemies. A year ago, a flashback takes us to the moment when two siblings, Mikan and Takeshi, were trying to make money in a famous game to escape from that city. The younger brother promised to take Mikan out of the city if he managed to earn a good amount of money. In the present, a martial arts tournament organized by Gravebuster is taking place. However, young Takeshi faces an obstacle. He can't afford the entry fee and therefore cannot participate. Determined not to stand idly by, Takeshi tries to infiltrate in any way he can. In the midst of his infiltration attempt, Suigin suddenly appears out of nowhere and asks Takeshi if he knows where the tournament organizer, an individual named Lao Long, is located. Both of them prepare to observe the tournament from above, thanks to Twinstar, who complains about having to carry both individuals. Suigin explains that he doesn't want to pay the entry fee, despite being a billion player. However, before talking to Lao Long, they find themselves in the final of the tournament for $1 million prize. The contenders are the warrior Mammoth Viking and EU, who promise a fiercely contested fight. While EU attacks with his ice power, his opponent, Pure Muscle, lunges at him trying to land a couple of blows and quickly claim the grand prize. Twinstar watches the fight closely and asks who they think will be the winner of the tournament. Takeshi, in an annoyed tone, responds that neither of the two contenders will win. He will be the winner. Then, he raises his book and releases a bright power that causes Twinstar to drop Suigin, who falls onto EU, automatically eliminating him from the tournament. Takeshi challenges the warrior Mammoth Viking, and the organizers, upon reading the rules aloud, nod, granting him the right to participate in the tournament. The only detail in the tournament rules is that Takeshi must fight alongside Suigin, and their powers will be reduced by half. Takeshi apologizes for involving Suigin, but has a reason for fighting in this battle. He needs to earn money to pay for the treatment of Mikan, his sister, who is sick in the hospital. Despite the opponent mocking him and saying he's not a match, Takeshi isn't bothered. He boldly attacks his opponent with strength, using his hammer to face Mammoth Viking with enthusiasm. He shouts that he won't lose this battle, and each time he lands an attack, the photos he has as memories turn to ashes. However, the boy seems to care little, as winning the tournament means saving his beloved sister. The boy runs with all his fury towards his opponent, trying to hit him with his power hammer. Just as he was about to execute the fierce attack, Suigin suddenly interrupts him and catches him, grabbing him by his garment. This causes the hammer to fall on his own head, transforming his weapon into its natural book form. This event leaves the commentators and the public amazed, speculating that it could be a team tactic that attacked each other, not to mention Mammoth Viking, who watches without understanding what is happening. Suigin approaches slowly towards the book, while Twinstar seems to be trying to distract the Viking warrior, who appears to be amused by the situation. Upon opening the said book, Suigin realizes that the images inside have disappeared due to the attack. Suigin scolds Takeshi and warns him that if he continues doing that, all memories with his sister will disappear. Our protagonist then takes Takeshi's place and helps the child, as he understands the reasons for wanting to win that tournament. The commentators announce in surprise that Suigin, the one in charge of the fight, hasn't even finished the initial stage and is a complete amateur. By the way, Farron and Phoebe, who are watching from the audience stands, recognize the boy. Mammoth Viking feels belittled because he's being made to fight against an amateur. With all his fury, he begins to attack repeatedly, but our guy easily dodges each of his attacks effortlessly. Tired of our protagonist only trying to defend himself, his opponent launches a freezing attack that ends up trapping him, unable to move. Just as the Viking is about to finish the fight by executing our hero with his spear, he is intercepted by Twin Star. This causes the Viking to take a few steps back and be threatened by the lady, who warns him that she will reveal her beautiful yet terrifying true form. Suddenly, a bright light prevails around the lady. Out of nowhere, Shin and Wei appear, causing the Viking to tremble with tenderness as he takes them in his arms, remarking that they are as soft as marshmallows. This endearing scene is quickly interrupted by Takeshi, who rushes towards the enemy to rescue these adorable beings, expressing that he must protect the women while his sister's memory flashes in his mind. The Viking seems unfazed by all this, and upon seeing the vulnerable child on the ground, begins to attack with his ice power, while the child declares that he won't run away and will protect his sister at all costs. All of this unfolds under the watchful eyes of Suigin, who is amazed by the courage of this young boy. Twin Star thanks the boy for protecting her and assures him that she is fine. She majestically unfolds her wings and takes flight, capturing the attention of the organizers, who recognize her as a powerful humanoid mausoleum beast of high level. They are not only astonished by the nature of Twin Star, but also by Suigin's ability to control someone of that caliber. The place is fully illuminated as Twin Star transforms into a gigantic two-headed jade dragon. The audience is left in awe witnessing this metamorphosis, and the Viking present begins to tremble in fear. The dragon unleashes its full power. One head emits blazing flames, while the other releases sound waves. The flames envelop the Viking, turning him into green gemstones that shatter instantly. Takeshi's team finally achieves victory, and the boy takes home the top prize, generously provided by Suigin, who declares that money doesn't interest him as he is a billionaire player. The grateful boy now has the opportunity to provide his sister with higher quality medical attention. Despite his generosity, our young man is extremely surprised to discover that the prize awarded to Takeshi was real money. Although he didn't expect it at first, it comforts him to know that at least he has done a good deed. He quickly bids farewell to the battlefield, where the organizers are left gossiping about recent events. Suigin arrives to participate in training as a newcomer. He tries to introduce himself in a friendly manner to those in front of him. The young man ignores him, avoiding eye contact, causing the hero to feel uncomfortable. Upon recognizing him, the annoying character is surprised to see him and acknowledges him as the poor boy who never stops working, hence the surprise at seeing him there for training. The protagonist becomes even more uncomfortable in the presence of this outgoing character. He explains that his name is Sha. The young man silences both of them because they are speaking too loudly and irritating him. Sha tries to make friends with the young man, but he rejects social interaction with both of them, just as he did previously with Suigin. Suddenly, a light flashes in the eyes of these characters, and from that illumination, a woman dressed in clothes that cover only about 10% of her body appears. Without any previous words, she begins to name the main characters, while they nod in agreement. She introduces herself as the instructor Rin. She takes them to a rocky environment, telling them about the history of this mountain from hundreds of years ago. As they peer into the sky, enemies come into view, lurking with their red eyes. Sha asks Rin what these creatures are, and she responds that they are tunnel apes. These monsters eagerly stalk our protagonists. When the enemies approach to attack them, they prepare to fight the elderly leader, whom they assume is the strongest. As everyone cowers in front of these monsters, bravely, the young man steps forward with his weapon to attack the enemy. Sha is impressed, and with his large fist, attacks the main enemy. He instantly delivers another blow, and they fall to the ground, raising dust. Although it seems like the fight will continue because the monster is still alive, it suddenly disappears and coins fall from the sky. Their allies are impressed by his skill. The protagonists are surprised by more enemies, this time of lower rank, and Rin is the first to attack. She defeats them, and coins fall again. She explains that if she does this always, she will level up each time. While she enjoys ecstasy, Sha looks at her with longing eyes. Excited, he declares loyalty to her, calling her princess. Now they are all in the academy, and a representative is checking who attended the class. He calls Sha, who did not show up for classes. All his classmates are surprised and also comment that he is someone who usually does not talk to his other classmates. Again in this world, the characters continue to collect points. Suddenly, she explains to them that this beginner's course does not end until the three of them, as a group, defeat her in combat. They have to defeat Rin by combining their forces. The first to react is the young man who skillfully dodges the projectiles. The others are impressed because he has an interesting special power that he obtained after a long time of defeating enemies. Sha explains that Suigin has no power because he works all day. Sha suggests to Suigin that he can help him because his parents have a lot of money, and he will make him progress easily. Rin silences this annoying character, who obeys instantly. She orders him to take the knife out of his head. He is scared, and after removing it, he faints. Rin analyzes the equipment Suigin has, and she is impressed because he has a special item. He is impressed because she has the ability to see the items of other players. While she is thinking about who Suigin really is, the young man wastes no time trying to hit Rin, and she narrowly avoids it. In that fight, Sha discovers the true identity of this ally, his name being Titan, one of the most skilled players in the area. In a flashback, it is shown how he won a quite important tournament. That same day at his house, his father, a wealthy man, shows him his gift to him. Titan, surprised, asks what that strange object is. His father tells him that, even though they didn't make that deal, he must defeat Gravebuster. He, angry, accepts that deal. Returning to the initial fight, Titan gets angry with his allies because they are not participating in the battle. She gets angry with them because they underestimate her power. Sha is conflicted about whether he has to fight her or not, as he is a subordinate of Rin. After convincing himself, he heads to face her. The hero also activates his special power and skillfully prepares for the fight against Rin. Sha shows his unusual power to merge with the wind, and in this way, Sha explains to Suigin that he can approach Rin without her noticing. Returning to the previous battle, Titan continues to use all his experience to defeat Rin once and for all. She falls from a mountain, and her life levels decrease. Unexpectedly, from behind, Sha appears to deliver an attack. She swiftly impales him with a sword, causing Sha to die in the video game after Suigin bids him farewell, and Sha disappears. Suigin explains to Titan that it will be impossible to defeat her, because this female character is invincible. In Sha's house, his mother knocks on his room's door to confirm that everything is fine. Happily, he tells his mother that he made a new friend who is poor and works all day, unlike Sha, who is wealthy. Titan asserts that he cannot be defeated because no one has done so yet. His battle continues to be tough, and Rin confronts him with a strong determination to win. She tells Titan that he has to be finally defeated because she fears something bad will happen if it doesn't. At the same time, the real Rin speaks through the recorder on her device, with a voice different from the real character. Suigin finds her thanks to his powers, and she is surprised. She makes the decoy that was fighting Titan disappear, and he becomes very angry. After passing the first test, they now have the possibility to join other groups. Suddenly, in a state of uncontrollable anger, Titan attacks Rin. There was also a blow aimed at Suigin, who dodges it and runs alongside Titan. They both arrive at a safe house. Suigin proposes an alliance to the one who was Rin and now calls herself Farron. Titan suddenly attacks them to defeat them. Titan has them both cornered, and they seemingly don't know how to defend themselves. To defeat Titan, Suigin uses Sha's power technique and springs into action. Despite Titan's brute strength, Suigin uses his intelligence to leverage the power of the wind. When it seems like Titan defeats Suigin by breaking his chest, he realizes that he actually struck a decoy. Upon realizing he was deceived, he loses patience and gets angry. But Suigin intervenes before a fight breaks out. Suigin offers peace, but Titan cannot surrender easily due to his long history tied to this life of killing enemies for money. Thanks to gaining so much power throughout this process, he now wants to use it to his advantage. His sword grants him the power to transform into a drivable car, surprising his allies. In a somewhat remote base, two people discuss how the company is doing well because more and more people are playing. The members of this conversation decide to delve in and then disappear. In a fortress, one of the 5 billion players named Dark Tiger is present. Many players are simultaneously in this group that comprises them all. Soon, a player joins the game, and Dark Tiger orders them to kill him. Titan, maximizing this new ability, charges the car to full power and accelerates towards the protagonists. Farron is scared, thinking it's the end, but Suigin reassures her, saying that nothing will happen until Titan hits him first. When it seems they will be defeated, Titan collides with a protective bar executed by Suigin. This bar destroys Titan's excessively costly power, and he ends up losing. Titan's special item explodes. Farron and Suigin are trapped under the debris, and both have to disconnect. Suigin offers her to be part of his team, and Farron tells him that she has too many people on her agenda. Suddenly, a carriage emerges from the ground, carrying away the bodies of these two characters. This new female character speaks to Suigin. Both are unfamiliar, but Suigin approaches nonetheless. Farron is on guard because this new character does not have her data visible. Farron suggests that she is a member of the Billion Players. She shoots Farron, who turns into a small plush toy. When he loses focus, she shoots him with her shotgun. He is on the ground with a strange creature on his head. That being enters Suigin's body, and she tells him that it will be an item that will help him save Suigin Rei. She explains that Rei is trapped with the totem leader, Temujin. Thanks to the thing this mysterious character gave her, she will know how to infiltrate better. He asks her why she decides to help him, and she responds in an ambiguous way and proceeds to leave with the carriage. Angry, he demands that she returns, but she ignores him and shoots at a mountain to demonstrate her true abilities. After waking up Farron, they both see that behind the dust cloud, a new threatening enemy appears. They discover that it is from Totems, where Rei is being held captive. Suigin runs after the whereabouts of this mysterious enemy. They fight and dodge repeatedly. At one point, it is Farron who stops an almost fatal blow. She defends Suigin, saying that she cannot let a member of her own team die, thus earning Suigin's respect. The enemy instantly begins to cut down his enemies with a powerful ability. Their life drops to 32, indicating the number of times they have been cut, showing the danger of this new enemy. Suigin keeps insisting on hitting him, but both dodge his attacks. After so many hits, Suigin exits the game, as those are the rules. Farron skillfully dodges the enemy's attack. Although she avoided the attack, Farron is also taken out of the game. Suigin returns home, and in addition to that, he cannot play the game for 24 hours. He also noticed that Farron was also taken out of the game. He soon receives a call from a complete stranger. This same enemy is the one holding Suigin captive. What will he say to our protagonist? What intentions does he have? The call continues, and Suigin suspects that it's Rei's kidnapper. This enemy informs Suigin that there will be a festival on level 18 of Gravebuster, which is organized for any player who has completed all the levels. This enemy gives Suigin instructions to reach that level, and then decides to end the call. A voice introduces Gwyn, a player who, despite his small size, defeats countless enemies skillfully. He also earns the affection of people and a girl. This character appears to be Suigin, who is now a nobody. His sadness disappears when his cat jumps on him, purring affectionately. He sighs. The cat meows and wakes up Suigin, and he gets out of bed. Many people are taking pictures of a girl who has the figure of Farron. They literally harass her, not letting her go, putting her in an uncomfortable situation. She yells at Suigin when her gaze changes. The others become jealous. Everyone discriminates against him for being poor and an employee of the site. They both sit together in the cafeteria, and Suigin is nervous. The protagonist realizes that his social interaction is different in both the game and real life, being calmer outside the game. In contrast, Farron is different and stands out to people. Soon they both start ordering food. Suigin is scared because he doesn't have money to pay for the meal, being poor. Bullies come to bother Suigin, who can't be in a place for the rich. Farron defends him, saying that he is their leader and a very important person, surprising the rich kids. Soon, the hero discovers that the money from his virtual world can also be used in real life and tries to pay for the food using his virtual money, successfully doing so. Now Suigin is a millionaire and theoretically won't be labeled as poor again. Everyone is amazed to see Farron walking through the school, and she feels very embarrassed. Everyone suggests that he will leave Rei for Farron, calling him unfaithful. Farron asks about Suigin's girlfriend. He responds that it's a long story. Both agree to create the team, and now they head to Gravebuster. They go to the festival, a place where there is a world of people. Here, different characters gather to create shops. Farron tells Suigin the purpose of the festival, which is a safe competition of a special level called Level 0. Farron suggests that Suigin should look for information about the totems, and he searches for information in the game manual. After a menu appears with a sensually speaking woman, Farron thinks Suigi is a pervert, so they both feel embarrassed. Then the hero loses Farron's respect. They both sit in a restaurant. Farron eats a lot because she needs to recharge energy after losing so much life. At a nearby table, two people are talking about the Billion Players. Suddenly, they start talking about aspects that remind us of Suigin, so he gets up from his chair to introduce himself to them as that legendary player. Suigi thinks they are after him because he is the 6th Billion player, But in reality, they wanted to talk to someone else. Outside, for some reason, penguins are flying. Everyone watches in amazement. Rings fall from the sky, and everyone tries to catch them. That was the purpose of the festival. In Dark's lair, his advisor indicates that everything is going according to his plan. Thanks to the rings, those players can access level 18. First of all, Dark orders more guards to protect himself from those powerful enemies. Suigi and Farin reach another level that seems easy. Everyone here starts to fight, and Suigi knows that a challenge lies ahead. Suddenly, Dark Tiger appears, and his companion sends a powerful attack that defeats all enemies in one blow. If this is his ally, imagine the power of Dark Tiger. From a puddle of blood, the boss enemy of the level emerges, being a monster with a large sword. Everyone tries to unleash their best attacks, but the enemy has the power of regeneration. From the sky, a female character appears, falling onto Suigi. She falls rapidly onto Suigin's face. This mysterious character shows him through a mirror where Suigin's emotional connection is. He approaches to talk to her since he felt nostalgia upon seeing her. She gives the impression of not hearing him, but then she comes closer to speak to Suigin. When they finally have the chance to talk, the connection is interrupted, and this new enemy angers Suigin. He is attacked by Nishikaze, who has more melee defensive abilities than Suigin. Allies notice that the boss of this level is incredibly difficult and continues to beat everyone mercilessly. Players automatically panic. The power of this enemy manifests, killing everyone in a very clever and easy way. Everyone pierced by this mosquito becomes the blood that this enemy accumulates. Soon, he orders to create an army of these allied mosquitoes. They suspect that the festival was just a trap. Nishikaze analyzes Suigin and his powers. She explains that to enter level 0, he doesn't need to wait for the 5 days and that Suigin can do it right now with a key. Suddenly, the enemy spots Suigin, as he was his main target. Suigin is surprised. The enemy grants him the key to enter level 0. The enemy suddenly takes the appearance of a giant and muscular being, which is called Bloody Buddha. The enemy shows Suigin his core, which has the appearance of a fruit. These are Suigin's memories. The protagonist activates the power of his scarf to choose the right power to fight the enemy. When Bloody Buddha tries to punch our hero, he creates a commotion on the platform. Meanwhile, Nishikaze and Farin float away in the sky. Suigin stops the enemy's lethal blow using a special sword, which speeds up the movements of our hero and easily cuts the enemy. He defeats him, leaving behind a gigantic pool of blood. Aslan on the ground tries to regenerate. Our protagonist insists on defeating him and attacks him. When he attacks, Aslan deflects the damage with his helmet. The enemy continues to regenerate, and something Suigin now knows is that as long as the enemy is in this sea of blood, he will be invincible. And indeed, he is getting stronger. Aslan shoots the first power when he sees our hero not moving. Suigin deflects the plasma shots. Every time Suigin uses his sword against this formidable enemy, he gradually notices that the sword is breaking. Despite the difficult fight, Suigin has enough determination to continue the battle. Aslan, as a mark of wanting to kill him, assigns a symbol to Suigin's head, as he desires Suigin's blood. Our hero has the opportunity that if, in those minutes, he gets inside Aslan's core, the curse above his head will be lifted. If Suigin is defeated, he will be eliminated in the same way as his sword. It seems all is lost, but with determination, Suigin promises to defeat him at that exact moment and activates a special power. Suddenly, this blue smoke makes the players who arrived in this world feel better. Aslan shows our hero his best attack. This power is called the Red Dragon of Hell. Suigin skillfully cuts Aslan's body from top to bottom. Other players join the fight to help our hero. Instantly, they are severely hit. For the last attack of Aslan to be activated, the dragon must extend into the sky to create a storm. This power falls to the ground, hitting everyone, including our protagonist. Many fall, granting blood to the enemy, who becomes stronger and stronger. When it seems all is lost, Aslan shatters into pieces. When Suigin's sword broke, it released concentrated oxygen, making the players feel healthier. After giving details on how Aslan died, the protagonist makes it clear how the defeated enemy was. Everyone now admires Suigin, who was responsible for defeating the most lethal enemy so far. Suddenly, strange characters appear who call themselves Silverbacks. Everyone admires Suigin and wants him to join their teams. Nishikaze feels disgusted seeing so many people. Now, Suigin has regained his forgotten memories by destroying the enemy's core. Aslan begins to say strange things to Suigin, and even Farin protests, not understanding him. But little by little, what the enemy says begins to make sense. Apparently, all the players in this video game are dying, and that's why more powerful characters were not participating in this battle against Aslan. Suddenly, a masked mysterious enemy arrives. This enemy, named Elder Baboon, steps on Aslan's mask, silencing him. He did not come alone, as he has countless allies on his side. These uncivilized allies start beating everyone. These thugs threaten to defeat them with their skills. The new main enemy, Elder, approaches Suigin to confront him. He also walks alongside Nishikaze and invites her to join his team. She does not respond. The Silverbacks chant to scare them all. Suigin gives Aslan's mask to Farron and approaches this new enemy to defeat him. Cowardly, Elder shoots a surprise attack. The fight continues despite having dodged the blow. To make him angry, Elder calls Suigin poor and shows him a very expensive coin. Suigin didn't know, but he can upgrade his weapons with in-game money. He is accused of defeating the level boss purely by luck. The enemies join forces. Spirals light up in front of the players. The boss's spiral reaches the sky, but now it's Suigin's turn to show his expertise. Suigin, being a member of the Billion players, reaches where the character's gaze cannot reach. The enemies are surprised to see the incomparable true power of our hero. Elder orders everyone to calm down. Suigin, with determination, enters to reach the famous level 0. In a strange place, our protagonist enters a tree and begins a ceremony. Meanwhile, Elder is hit on the battlefield. His boss gets angry, and Elder is scared in the middle of the call, as he will be punished if he does not fulfill his purpose. Suigin in the ceremony witnesses his lost memories. There is a child holding hands with his grandfather. This tree tomb is made to absorb those powers. Rei falls from the tree, and Suigin approaches to see how she is. Both introduce themselves and say their names. The grandfather shows him the fruit that contains his memories and seals them. The present Suigin comes to his senses and is horrified by these memories. Apparently, Aslan was destined to help our hero from the beginning. Outside, both Farron and the other characters support Suigin. The one calling Elder asks why they couldn't defeat Suigin, but this bully says they were no match for that powerful character. He gives instructions to his boss to reach the place, telling him that the protagonist is at the entrance of level 0. With a special attack, this mysterious enemy tries to shoot towards Suigin. A player tries to analyze the level of that power, and his device explodes. When this seemingly unstoppable power approaches our hero, he stops it with his enhanced abilities and appearance. He has found the solution to this problem in the most ingenious way as he put on Aslan's armor. They summon a mirror, and Rei appears. Suigin is excited to see that she is okay. He swears to save her through tears. An enemy says that the call must end, and cuts the connection between the two protagonists. This character explains that level 0 will open in just 5 days, and if that goes well, they will hand Suigin over. There are issues within Dark Tiger's group, and there is a member who is not following the established rules. Nishikaze wants to show Suigin where their leader lives, and they head there. Suddenly something explodes nearby. From the smoke emerges this mysterious enemy, who undoubtedly wants to face Suigin before he leaves. Nishikaze urges our hero because she knows where Rei is being held captive. This character named Randen Gyoku begins to kill many characters, using it as a threat for Suigin to come down and fight against him. Suddenly, a golden gorilla falls from the sky and threatens everyone. It seems to be an attack carried out with a power summoned by Randen Gyoku. Our hero, witnessing the massacre taking place, deems it absurd. Nishikaze threatens to go ahead and leave our protagonist behind, who decides to step forward, even if it means many players will lose their lives without his help. He reminisces about moments with Rei. Quickly changing his mind, he decides to have a fight against Randen Gyoku. When this enemy reloads a power to shoot it against Suigin, another ally stops the attack. This way, our hero doesn't receive as much damage, although he falls to the ground. If it weren't for his armor, he would be literally dead. Farron tries to hold him. The name of this ally who prevented a disaster is Kitakaze, one of the Imperial Guards of Totems. Unexpectedly, he instantly regenerates Suigin's life to help him. Randen Gyoku starts to fight against Kitakaze, whom he underestimates as weak. The speed of both characters and their blows is impressive. They launch powerful attacks that leave shockwaves in their path, and Kitakaze struggles to dodge them all forever. Suddenly, to save the protagonists, a character named Beck is sent to the battlefield, who creates a solid wall. Fortunately, they arrived in time. Renden Gyoku orders his allies to destroy the ice armor, but they are paralyzed and unable to do anything. Soon, an allied character appears, sipping tea, and it's him who tied up the giant gorilla. Beck asks the enemy if he will attack them as well, to which Randengyoku responds by activating his maximum power. He is confident that he will win this battle. This new enemy becomes giant and challenges our protagonist. Randengyoku takes an almost godlike appearance and even takes the time to enhance his abilities, making him even harder to beat. Can Suigin withstand 666 shots per minute? Before this happens, Beck creates a larger and stronger ice wall than before. Weakening his wall, the other ally who was previously sipping tea uses his powers to soften the enemy's continuous and violent attacks. He creates an unbreakable wall that can repel the attacks, but it won't last long, so the characters have to get to work. Beck warns that there are 10 powerful players approaching that point, so they must get rid of this enemy quickly before facing an even greater challenge. All of them have the potential to become the next billion players. Farron states that this enemy was too close once to becoming a member, and this time that desire might come true, considering the power he is concentrating on. To clarify things for our protagonist, Kitakaze explains how titles or achievements work in this video game, being mysterious. He explains that by completing certain tasks, particular and unique powers can be unlocked. Outside, the enemy continues to shoot non-stop, claiming that the Lone Star title will be his, a title he can obtain by defeating Suigin. In a flashback, Randengyoku asks Dark Tiger how to get the Lone Star title, wondering if it's achieved by defeating a billion player. After this comment, Dark Tiger's henchman is offended. Apparently, this powerful enemy gave permission to Randengyoku to face a special member of the billion players. Suddenly, the enemy stops his shots, and the allies start to panic. Although Suigin doesn't know what his title does, he still tries to come up with a plan to finally defeat this annoying and strong enemy. He activates his scarf to unleash his powers. In this scene, Rei is still captive, wondering if Suigin is still fighting on the battlefield. There's concern in her gaze, but she also has hopes of seeing him alive again. The enemy recharges his energies and shoots again at everyone, especially Nishikaze, who crashes into the wall where our heroes are, and now the fortress has a hole. The enemy is convinced that he has defeated everyone and won the Lone Star title, but soon his smile disappears as he sees that not only the protagonist of the story is still alive, his powers have progressed, and he has saved Nishikaze. With the scarf activated, Suigin now has the power of the purple jewel called Saturn, which strengthens his body. This incredible ability allows our hero to make several decisions at the same time and challenges the enemy, who laughs without believing anything Suigin says. The enemy doesn't want to surrender and in fact explains that all the bullets used and that fell to the ground will explode. Nishikaze offers the enemy the chance to fight against his boss, named Temujin. Although initially terrified by the offer, he considers it a done deal and promises Suigin to continue the fight later. Everyone stands before the gates of a large fortress, waiting for them to open, as behind them is where Temujin, the boss, lives. With determination in his gaze, Suigin decides to continue with his mission to save Rei. The end! Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.
I don't wanna see you while you fall apart. Even though you told me to get back your heart, I still spin inside your orbit. Yeah. You say that I should probably start to walk away. I'm hoping that you stop and make me have to stay, 'cause I'm floating in your orbit. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space. Just my luck, put me away, you understand. There's nothing left to say. Pull me back, take my hand, call my name, you understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space. It's my luck, put me away, you understand. There's nothing left to say. Pull me back, take my hand, I wanna leave, you understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. I don't wanna see you while you fall apart. Even though you told me to get back your heart, still spinning inside your orbit. I should probably start to walk away. I'm hoping that you still make me have to stay, 'cause I'm floating in your orbit. Pull me back, take my hand, call my name. You understand, I wanna stay, 'cause I don't wanna walk away. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space. I lost my luck.